sounds like the Fed is done raising interest rates. How should we feel about that? That's what I'm thinking. A recent meeting here of the Federal Reserve, they raised rates one more time, and they talked about maybe being done raising rates for the foreseeable future. And of course, rising interest rates have had major impacts in various fashions on the markets, on our investments, etc. And I came across this article that talked about, hey, how do we think about this? Is this a good thing? How should we interpret this? And I'll pull up just a graphic that came from the article I thought was really interesting to look at. What they did is they looked at the S&P 500 returns for the year following the last rate hike in various time periods here. So they've got 8 time periods where they were raising rates going back to the early 70s. And you can see whether there were positive or negative returns. And you take a look at what does this mean, how to interpret it. We've got, a negative year back in 74 after they stopped raising rates, followed by 4 years of positive returns, and then another negative year, and then, 2 times that the markets were positive. So does this mean that, hey, we're only have 2 times that the markets have been positive after recent rate hikes, that we should expect it to be positive over the coming year if the rates are done going up? Maybe. Or is it that we're due for a bad year to sort of have reversion to the mean? I mean, who knows on that? You can see the bottom bar on there, their average return in years after the last rate hike was about 13%. That was the takeaway of this article, was saying, hey, on average, expect something good to happen. And of course, we just don't know. There's no indicator. It's not like this is predictive. Maybe interesting to look back and see what's happened. Certainly doesn't seem to be any reason to be fearful that, oh my gosh, they stopped raising rates, now things are going to go bad. Definitely not a guarantee it's going to be good. But what I took from this particular graphic was something a little bit different than what the authors were intending. I looked at that and said, well, geez, if somebody, primarily is in the position of getting ready to retire, what happens if they were retiring in the early 1970s or in the 80s or going up to 2000? How did things work out for those people that I know that did that? Maybe for you, it's parents or grandparents that were retiring at those ages. How did retirement work out for them, and how did their money go, and how impactful was what happened in the year after they stopped raising rates in the stock market, right? How much difference did that make? And for the people that I know anyway, the answer is not very much at all. I look at that year 2000 downturn. Of course, that might have had something to do, the year after they stopped raising rates might have something to do with 9/11 or the tech bubble bursting, right? But regardless, I take a look over the 20-year period, right? The last 20 years, people are going to be retiring for a long time, things have gone pretty well, and the same thing applies in all those cases for the most part. And what it really kind of hit home, or what I took from it, is, we think about what's going to happen next. What happens after rates stop going up? What happens after a presidential election? What's going to happen in the next year? And that really is the wrong question, right? It's not impactful in our lives. It's what's going to happen the next 5 years, the next 10 years, the next 20 years. And what happens in any one year is really not that meaningful. And that's what I took from this, and I'd be interested to hear what you guys have to think about this too. But that's what I'm thinking about is what's the meaningfulness of these shorter term things? And my answer is not very much. So I'm always interested in knowing, of course, what you guys are thinking. If you're watching this on YouTube, jot a note in the comments below or shoot me an email directly. And as always, thanks for watching.